What's goody? Hey, what's good, my good people? How you feeling? How you doing? Hope you guys all right, man. Hope you guys all right. It's been a little minute since I posted a video, but I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here. I'm still traversing this life, trying to find truth, not just for me, but for you guys as well. Not just for you, but also for the Most High, man. Shout out to the Most High for giving us another day. Today's video will probably be the first of a new series which I'm trying to develop. I haven't figured out the name of it. I'll figure it out by the time I post this video. You'll see it. But pretty much a series about going down this rabbit hole of symbols, of symbolism, of images, depictions, signs, just figures, mostly symbols of I don't know, man, of whatever may be on what a celebrity's wearing. It may be on a flag, it may be on a building, could be a tattoo, whatever it is. I plan on going down the rabbit hole of that particular symbol and hoping to find the truth behind it. Hoping to find the truth behind it, hoping to understand more, finding out whether or not there's like an esoteric or hidden meaning behind it. So rock with me and I'll let you know what I found. So I have a picture right here before you guys, and this is specifically called the double-headed eagle. The double-headed eagle, and this is something that I found while scrolling on Instagram the other day, and Kanye was wearing it. Wasn't sure if it was a new brand or maybe I don't know, like something he thrifted or something. But at first I thought it was just another outfit item, but then he was seen wearing it more and more through different photos. Might have him here. Yeah, here's another photo. On I'm not sure if this is Kanye's actual page or just a fan page, but another one posted because Kanye posted it. And here's another one was posted on his stories, I believe. Him wearing the same jacket, but this time white. And it's not just Kanye that I saw wearing it. I also saw Drake wearing it, and I used to absolutely love Drake music in high school, man. He was my favorite musician by far. I know all the words, man, all the words. But as you grow and mature and come to realize the truth, there's just some certain things that you got to cut off. Um, especially if it's for the Most High and to better your relationship with Him. Anyways, here's another image of Drake wearing it. This is I forgot the name of the music video, but it's one of his latest music videos, and it's another example of the double-headed eagle, man. Um, but he wears it on a red jacket instead of white or black. And for you guys that don't know, red and black is pretty much the colors of devil worship. Red, white, and black, or red, black, and white. Red stands for blood. Black and white stands for duality. Black and white, dark versus light, opposing forces coming together. And that's actually one of the themes behind this double-headed ego. But I'll get there to the end of the video. For now, let's just talk about this ego, man. Let's just talk about it. So I did a bit of looking up, and I discovered that this ego is used by some families today. And those families were the Habsburg family. I don't know how to pronounce it. They're German family, and one of their uncles is still he's still a high-ranking politician in Switzerland. I think I need to look that up. But his that's their family crest, their family emblem, and it's not just them. There are like other European families who still use this as their emblem. Now, here's the thing. So I did a I started from there. I started from those families using that emblem, and I took I followed the trail backwards. And apparently, what all of these families that have this emblem in common is that they are descendants of families that ruled during the during the rulership of the Holy Roman Empire. And I'm sure you guys know what the Holy Roman Empire is, man. So this was one of the symbols or the emblems for the Roman Empire coat of arms, armies. Not just that, but also nobles and royalty. So this dates way back. Now, the Holy Roman Empire, it's not necessarily the origin of this symbol, but it was this symbol was primarily used during that time era. So this article here reads, it pretty much explores the origins, or at least the Mesopotamian origins of the Hittite double-headed eagle. And I'm just going to go into this article a little bit just to give a brief introduction of to what the double-headed eagle is. So it reads here that the figure of a double-headed bird is represented in many countries around the globe and in various time periods. The double-headed eagle has been a royal symbol throughout its history until the present day. The history of the use of the double-headed eagle in various contexts since the Crusades has been well documented. It has been used as a heraldic emblem of many royal houses and is still a state symbol in some countries. However, ancient Near Eastern cultures had used the double-headed bird motif millennia before the Crusades. One striking example is that of the Hittites, for whom it was a royal insignia. This paper explores the Mesopotamian origins of the double-headed eagle motif as used by the Hittites. Now, the Hittites were one of the descendants of Noah from the scriptures. Of course, he had sons Shem, Japhet, and Ham, and the Hittites were descendants of Ham. So they were dark-skinned African race, or a people, I'd rather say. And more specifically, they were descendants of Canaan. So like Ham, Ham was like was it like great grandfather or something? It was Ham, then Canaan, and then Het. Het is, well, he was the founder, or like the seed. Um, there's pretty much the seed of the Hittites, and that's where the word Hittite comes from. It comes from Het, one of the sons of Canaan. And the reason why this article touches on the double-headed eagle being of Hittite origin is because centuries before the Holy Roman Empire, or any European or Anatolian people began to use the double-headed eagle as their signa, or their emblem or symbol, the Hittites used it first, uh, thousands of years before any of the Holy Roman Empire did. So some other nations or territories that used the double-headed eagle as their insignia include Russia, include Germany, include Albania, and some parts of Turkey, and not just Europe. Also in India, the double-headed eagle was used to represent Vishnu, if I'm correct. It should be Vishnu. Apparently, Vishnu shapeshifted into a double-headed eagle in order to defeat one of their one of their sinful gods. And it says here that the in the Middle Ages it was the symbol of rank of a Roman Caesar or Kaiser, and was used by rulers wearing the title of Kaiser or Tsar and Basileus, and also by rulers entitled Imperator. These titles were used by those rulers governing one of the parts of the Roman Empire in the time of the Tetrarchy, when there were two Kaisers and two Augusti, each ruling a prefecture. So, in terms of origin, the two-headed eagle is of the Hittite origin. Early examples are from the center of the Hittite Empire in central Anatolia, or other words, Asia Minor. Two-headed eagles are on seals, but also on sculptures. In the last case, they have other beasts in their claws and are apparently the symbol of the ruler standing on it. Thus, the two-headed eagle may have been the symbol of the tribe of the ruler, but also of the ruler itself. And those are just sculptures, artifacts of Hittite origin. So I'm gonna get into the continuation of the use of the Hittite emblem, um, the double-headed eagle, more specifically during the Middle Ages, and just how other nations such as Austria, Germany, Russia, and other sectors of Christianity used this emblem as their symbol. So after the Hittite two-headed eagle, there's a gap of almost 2 millennia to be filled. In the meantime, the emblem of the supreme commander in the Hellenistic world was a monstrous head, being the head of the army personified by Medusa, Nike or Nike, or Victoria. And those are all the goddesses of victory. After the introduction of Christianity in the Roman Empire, the cipher of Christ, consisting of the Greek letter Chi Rho, became the emblem under which the army would conquer. The supreme commanders attached the cipher to their shields, sometimes surrounded by a boudoir set with precious stones, sometimes with a garland of laurel. The Shiro cipher, as a symbol of the armed forces, was maintained in the West by the Carolingians, but seemed to have been abandoned afterwards. It is striking that the two-headed eagle appeared for the first time at the borders of the Christian world, and thus may have been of pagan or Muslim origin. Later also adopted by Christian commanders, the first pieces showing a two-headed eagle may have been booty, captured by Christian commanders in the Reconquista in Spain, and may have been the emblem of the Umayyad supreme commanders. Early European two-headed eagles date from the early time of the Renovatio Imperii of the House of Saxony and Germany, from Umayyad Spain, and from Bulgaria. All right, so this mainly red image right here, that is a piece of silk from the time of the German House of Saxony, on the one hand, and the Spanish Umayyad dynasty on the other hand. And this is just another piece, this time from the Macedonian Empire in Bulgaria, or from the time of the Byzantine occupation, and may be the emblem of rank of the Bulgarian Tsar Basileus in the former prefecture Elisarium, or Illyricum. Okay, so we start off with the Balkans. And the term Balkan means just a large state of sovereign states, forming I'd say a union, kind of like, for example, the Holy Roman Empire or like maybe the EU. And it says here that throughout its history, the prefecture of Illyria shows a development of political fragmentation. This kind of fragmentation is even called balkanization, and it means that a relatively large number of sovereign states arose. As a result, a large number of supreme commanders, often wearing the title of emperor or czar, were active in former Illyria. The fragmentation only came to a temporary end when the Balkans were captured by the Ottoman Empire in the 15th century. In this category are Bulgaria, Epirus, Serbia, Macedonia, Mistra, and Wallachia. I almost said Wakanda. So these are some of the examples of the two-headed eagles that were used during the balkanization of those sovereign states. All right. So in terms of the Middle East, I mean, in terms of the East in general, the two-headed eagle was adopted in the Muslim world after the fall of the Seljuk Empire and restoration of the temporal power of the Caliphate of Baghdad in 1157. Pardon my pronunciation. I'm reading some of these words for the first time, so please forgive me. This is testified by coins bearing a two-headed eagle from the nominal vassals of the Caliphate, but also by other pieces like tiles and consumer goods. These pieces are from the part of the Caliphate where the confrontation with the Western Crusaders was the most violent and demonstrate the mobilization of the Muslim world against the Christians. Just a little clearer images of these double-headed eagles. Okay, it says here that the badge of rank of the Nicaean or Nicaean and Byzantine emperors was a two-headed eagle. As well as Egypt, it was used on coins. As well as Egypt, it was used on coins, mainly to represent the rulers or the nobles of that society. Here's an interesting one. So it says that in Nubia, a two-headed eagle was adopted as the emblem of rank of the supreme commander in Nubia. A fresco found in Abd el-Qadir, somewhat north of Khartoum, shows a man dressed in an apron sewn with medallions with two-headed eagles. His tunic with a diamond pattern, and as well as him wearing a cross sack. On his head, he has a particular horned helmet with a six-pointed star on the front and a crescent as a crest, which seems to be a residual form of the ancient crown of Kush. That crescent up there, it's yeah, pretty much a residual form of the ancient crown of Kush. Um, Another name for it is the lunar crown of Isis, because if you look up pictures of Isis, she had that lunar crown. It's just a signal of witchcraft, man. People who worship Horus and Thoth, you know. Turkestan. So from 13th century Central Asia, two-headed eagles are known as a pattern on precious textiles. They are part of the usual series of military emblems consisting of lions, griffins, eagles, and two-headed eagles. It is not known if the piece were made for use in Central Asia itself or for the Christian and Muslim markets. So here we have Russia. Says that a two-headed eagle is known from Galicia and was adopted by King Daniel of Galicia from the house of Romanovich. And the Ipatif, forgive me for my pronunciation, the Ipatifsky Chronicle writes for the year 1235 about his two-headed eagle. At 1 mile from the city of Kelm, there's a dungeon of brick on which is a stone sculpture of an eagle, and the height of the stone is 10 yards with the heads, and with the supports 12 yards. The plural of the word heads suggests that the eagle was two-headed. Also, the chronicle mentions that a Byzantine architect named Ardios has built the cathedral of Kelm, and it is thought that he was the also author of the two-headed eagle, being inspired by the Byzantine examples. The ruins of the square donjon are at Bilowin, at 2 kilometers of Kelm, a wall of a height of 22 meters, remaining the rest fallen into the river. Today, only the square foundations remain. And now, the use of the double-headed eagle in India. A two-headed bird is called. Yeah, you guys can read that for yourselves. I'm not gonna embarrass myself by even trying to pronounce that. He is of the same Hittite origin as the two-headed eagle in the West. A myth says that Vishnu assumed the form of a two-headed eagle to annihilate Saraba, a form taken by Shiva to destroy Narashima, an avatar of Vishnu. Again, a sectarian device to humble a rival creed. Such a bird appears at Sirkap Stupa, which usually is dated at about the beginning of the Christian era. It is depicted that they are sitting and turned to the dexter, and this seems to have been the common attitude for countries. It can also be found on a fresco in Burdasara Temple, consecrated 1010, and much later on a 16th century Vijayanagar coin from about from about the 11th century AD. Um, the two-headed bird is represented in the usual attitude with wings displayed. This may have been a Seljuk influence. Pictures of the two-headed birds with lions and elephants in its talons date from the 16th century and later. In the same way, the two-headed eagle in the West was depicted with lions or some other beasts in his claws. In India, this is explained by the myth that he was so strong that he was able to clutch elephants in his talons and fly away with them. It must be remarked, however, that for centuries elephants were also often used in combat, and that the symbol of an elephant may have been the emblem of function or rank of a high officer commanding the elephant division in war. The two-headed bird and elephants would therefore be the emblem of the supreme commander of the elephants. There is no publication or study, however, available that confirms this interesting hypothesis. And this is just images of the two-headed eagle. Still not even going to try and pronounce that name. But it's interesting stuff, man, how, you know, such a piece of origin, such a symbol, um, originating from the Hittite being used by some of the history's most prominent rulerships, or empires. And it's not just European, this moved around the whole world. So it's very interesting the influence that the Hittites or the Hamites and Cushites in general had when it came to this stuff because, Hamite and Cushite theology, symbolism is everywhere in the world today, Their mystery school system, their ancient beliefs, their magical practices are heavily influenced in today's world. So I have a book here titled Symbols of Our Celtic Saxon Heritage by W.H. Bennett. And this book goes into some of the symbolism or the tribal emblems of the Israelites of the scriptures, how they would identify themselves. And some of those tribes of Israel, more specifically Ephraim and Dan, they used an eagle as well as their emblem to represent them. Um, but this is not to be confused with the double-headed eagle. They do not stem from one another. It says here that the double-headed eagle, so common in parts of Europe, is the ancient emblem of those peoples and nations descended from the age-old Babylonian Roman succession of empires, whereas the single-headed eagle was one of the important emblems of the Israel people, and especially of those descended from the three-tribed brigade of Dan. Thus, the double-headed eagle is an indication that the people using it are not of Israel, whereas the use of the single-headed eagle is evidence that the people using it are of Israel and probably of the tribe or brigade of Dan. So, just for a bit of context, I want to get into a bit of how the Israelites used, well, not the Israelites, more specifically the tribe of Dan, how they used the eagle as their symbol or as a way to identify their tribe. While, of course, all other tribes they had their own emblems as well, and not just one emblem. They would have like three, four, or five emblems. So it's really a range of different symbols for each tribe. Like uh, a lot of you probably know this by now. Judah was a lion. Um, Reuben was a man, because if I remember correctly in the scripture, the Most High referred to the tribe of Reuben being fleshly as a man. So that's where that man was, where it originated from. The tribe of Dan, of course, had the eagle, sometimes a snake. Um, Ephraim also used an eagle, as well as a bull. Dan used a horse as well. And that's pretty much what this book here is about. But I just want to get into the context of Dan using the eagle. So this little image diagram right here is an image of the camp that the Israelites would form when settling down somewhere or when migrating. And the way would be that in the north side, of course, they would have Dan as the lead or as the head, but of course, it would consist of three tribes, and the other two being Naphtali and Asher. On the east side, Judah would be the lead tribe, with Zebulun and Issachar being the supporting tribes. On the south side, it was Reuben, with Simeon and Gad being the supporting tribes, and then on the west side was Ephraim, with Benjamin and Manasseh being the supporting tribes. So it says here that the arrangement of the tribes in this encampment is very interesting. On the east side was the camp or brigade of Judah, composed of the tribes of Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. On the south was the camp of brigade of Reuben, composed of the tribes of Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. On the west was the camp or brigade of Ephraim, composed of the tribes of Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. On the north was the camp of brigade of Dan, composed of the tribes of Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. And there you see, you got the lion of Judah over there. So a similar arrangement of tribes was followed when marching from place to place. The three tribes forming the brigade of Judah went first, followed followed in order by the brigades of Reuben, Ephraim, and Dan. While the Bible does not actually state what the emblems on the standards of the four brigades or camps were, nevertheless it does offer evidence which clearly indicates that they were a lion, a man, an ox, and an eagle. This is corroborated by the statements of Jewish authorities, both ancient and modern, and by certain Masonic traditions. When we consider these emblems, we see that three of them, those on the standards of Judah, Reuben, and Ephraim, are simply larger and more ornate versions of their tribal emblems. But in the case of Dan, this procedure was not followed. Instead, for some reason not yet apparent, an eagle was chosen. It should also be noted that originally and usually the lion on the emblem of the brigade of Judah did not have a crown. And here are one of the many variants of that emblem, which includes an eagle or the eagle of Dan. So it comes in many forms, many different forms, colors. And there you have it, the standard of the brigade of Dan. All right, so now that we understand the significance of the single-headed eagle within the tribe of Dan, we can go ahead and conclude our somewhat deep dive of the significance behind the double-headed eagle. Now, from all the articles and the pages that I read, they could not really give me a straightforward meaning or significance behind the double-headed eagle. Most could only tell me that the furthest that they originate is the Hittite Empire. Um, and although that is true, I even searching for Hittite gods or goddesses, I couldn't find the any significance of a double-headed eagle. Well, there was a god, I think Ningirsu. My pronunciation is off, but I believe he was a double-headed eagle. He might have been a storm god or a god of weather or a god of storm, something like that. But of course, I couldn't understand the meaning behind the symbol. But then, faithfully, I happened to stumble upon a another page that pretty much sums up its significance as being a bringing together of opposites, which is a very common theme within Egyptian Hermeticism, Babylonian mystery or mysticism, a very common concept, duality, black and white, the bringing together of opposites, as above, so below, order out of chaos, da da do. And so this page here also mentions the double-headed eagle, indicating a unification of opposites in the heart and mind of man. In other words, true illumination and spiritual grace being achieved through that bringing together of opposites. It says here that the double-headed eagle, as an alchemical symbol, illustrates the hermetic and alchemical axiom solve a coagula, the process of separating the elements and then bringing them together after purification and consecration. This process is somewhat analogous to the psychological practice of depth analysis, where the personality is analyzed in detail, subconscious elements are brought to light and processed, and the personality is then made whole or fully integrated so that all the aspects of consciousness are in harmony. The divided self is healed and the person becomes whole. So, all this time, all these empires and all these rulers and nobles and people, they've used the symbol as, to pretty much proclaim or express their belief in mysticism or magic. And of course, the Hittites, the Canaanites, the Hamites, they definitely practiced, uh, Luciferianism. Um, and this is just a reflection of that. This is just a reflection of that. And, I'm definitely assuming or alleging that, the Kanyes and the Drakes of this world, when they use such symbols, they're proclaiming the same thing. They're representing the same thing. The use of mysticism, or perhaps representing a house of mysticism, or a sect. And there's so many more symbols that they're using in front of our eyes. We're just, of course, we're asleep. But thankfully, the Most High has awoken some of us and has, suffered us not a continuous slumber. He is the God of life, He is the God of wakefulness, while the devil is the God of death, he's the God of sleep. So with that being said, man, hey, you guys keep your heads up, keep your hearts strong, and remember to pray to the Most High every single day.